In today's lecture, we're going to develop the general theme of progress by looking at a key area of human progress. This is urbanization. The gradual movement of human populations away from a rural existence in the countryside to living in towns and cities. And our title today is The Effects of Urbanization on Human Health. Progress, as we saw last week, suggests improvement, the idea of things getting better. And it tends to be associated with things like economic growth, industrialization, and urbanization. Well, these things are, of course, in many ways very positive. But as I'm about to argue, rapid growth, such as we see around us today in many parts of the world, can have serious consequences. And not all of them are positive. The area I'm going to focus on today is urbanization, and in particular, the impacts of the urban lifestyle, the urban climate on human health. What are the effects on human health of living in a city? Obviously, it depends on what kind of urban environment we're talking about. Not all cities are the same. Living in Vancouver or Copenhagen and living in, I don't know, let's say Jakarta or Calcutta is clearly not the same thing, but there will be similar effects nonetheless. Now, these effects, these impacts can be positive, negative, or broadly neutral. But actually, when we talk about impacts, they tend to be more negative than positive. So, what are the main impacts of the urban climate on human health? Broadly speaking, there are two main issues which influence people's health in cities. These are heat stress during summer conditions and air pollution. Heat stress in particular is a major factor, mainly due to the urban heat island effect. Now, the urban heat island effect refers to a situation where the areas around large urban centers or cities are measurably hotter than the surrounding countryside and agricultural areas. Urban centers are hotter because firstly they're built up rather than natural. They have more buildings and roads and fewer green spaces rather than vegetation which releases moisture into the atmosphere. So in very broad terms, you could say that rural areas are cooler and wetter, built-up areas are hotter and drier. Secondly, urban areas release heat into the atmosphere. They release heat in the form of the energy from buildings, from heating and air conditioning. And heat is also created by people and by traffic, of course. For these reasons, urban areas are hotter, causing what is known as the urban heat island effect. Let me give you an example. The summer of 2003 was the hottest summer in Europe for many centuries, possibly since the year 1500. It resulted in large numbers of heat-related deaths across much of Western Europe, particularly in big cities where temperatures were higher. Since then, this whole issue has become a particularly important topic in science and government policy.